Welcome to this final session of the Global Solidarity Summit on learning from arts partnerships. So my name's Emma Beecham and I'm from Hub Cymru Africa. We're going to hear the experiences, hopefully from two projects. We've only got one of them with us so far today, but we're pleased to welcome Ngoma Nshaya from Rwanda and NoFit State Circus in Cardiff to share their experience of working together with their partner Circus Zambia and how this has shaped their performances. And then hopefully we'll hear from JukeBox Collective to also share their views on the opportunities that they've had for working in arts partnerships between Wales and Ghana. So just starting with a bit of housekeeping, as with the other sessions today, please use the chat function for comments and the Q&A box for any questions that come up during the sessions. We'll be taking questions after the speakers have said their piece, and then we'll have time for questions after each project has spoken. And if you could complete the polls at the end, that would really help us too. There's closed captioning at the bottom of the screen if you'd like that. And please, if you want to make an oral contribution, you can use the raise hand function at the bottom of the toolbar. So any form of abusive or offensive language or behaviour in the chat boxes or throughout the session will not be tolerated. So please listen with respect and be mindful of the experiences of others. So I'm going to invite Adil Gakiri Katetsi, or Kiki, who's the founder and centre director of Ngoma Nshaya in Rwanda, and Alison Woods to talk about their project with Circus Zambia. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Emma. My name is Gakiri Katetsi Odile, Kiki. I am talking to you from Huye in the southern province of Rwanda, and I am the founding director of Ngoma Nshaya. And I'm really happy to talk about Drama per Circus. In 2019, we made me and Gift from Zambia and Alison from NoFit State in New York at ISPA conference. And we were really interested in collaborating together. I think that Gift and Alison, because they're both in the circus sector, they spoke the same language, and I was entering in with my drums. The Ngoma Nshaya is the first ever company of female drummers in Rwanda. They broke the taboo forbidding women to drum. So I'm very much interested in questioning gender roles in the society, but I feel also that culture. When I started, I felt like there were some taboos that were preventing women from blossoming. But the more I work in, I feel that culture itself is something that was made by men for men. And it's very, very difficult for us as women to invade that space and sustain. So I was very keen to work with the circus. It was my first time, but I knew that I needed something from the circus because our drums are very heavy, and it's very difficult to bring magic and poetry with the drums because they're very heavy and difficult then to manipulate or to choreograph or to yes. And with the juggling, for us it changes everything. Now the face of the drumming in Rwanda is very new, is very poetic, is very magical. But then I think I really forced everything to be part of this conversation, where at first I didn't necessarily see my place because I was not from the circus sector. And I have to recognize that I had also two very caring partners and very generous, who were very happy also to invade the drumming, to give us. I feel that in this partnership, I am the one who benefited most because we acquired new skills when they don't necessarily learn to drum. But it was very a great experience from us. So we met in New York, and then we had the chance to meet again in Cardiff some months later, and I was very happy to welcome everyone in Rwanda, in Huye, for a week session. That's the only time we were together, working together, not in meetings. And the drummers were there when they were not in Cardiff, when I was there. And I would like Emma to play the clips related to that meeting in Huye, please.
Brilliant 3-month project.
Would you like to comment? How was it, Alison?
That week in Huye was completely magical, and it was my first ever visit to Rwanda. I'd met Kiki and Gift previously in New York and Cardiff and in Bilbao, but it was the first time that Gift and I had met all of the drummers. And they were, I mean, it is difficult, unless it is live and you are in the room with them, it is really difficult to convey the power and the energy of that drumming. It is extraordinary. And they are also, I can't remember, was it 18, 19 people, Kiki, something like that?
18, yes.
18, they are the most warm, free, creatively generous, and ridiculously funny people you could ever hope to meet. We were, at various points, we were playing circus and theatre games. And I have never seen people behave like that. It was just so brilliant. It was so free and so open and so generous. And as I said, a wonderful, wonderful week.
Thank you. For us also, it's really changed everything. And now we are, even though we have not mastered yet the juggling, we are teaching it in schools, in primary schools and secondary schools to small girls, because it really changes the settings, the visuals, really, and I like to see the buttons fly, really, when this is something that I really wanted, and I got it. I'm still looking forward to master, to understand better, because we only got like 3-4 days with Lee and In, who made the drawings, and then the COVID happened, and we had to find a new way of working. For us as the women drummers, it was very challenging just to have a camera every day, because we were not natural. we had the feeling that something was invading our space, but we also learned to work with the camera around and to ignore it. And now we have a lot of materials that is helping us to increase our visibility. And we were shooting, each of us was shooting his work in Zambia. They were shooting their work, and us in Huye, and we were setting the footage in Cardiff. and having lots of many meetings on Zoom to try to work together with all the challenges related to internet, the challenges related to the sounds. We tried to really rehearse also on Zoom, and we realized that the sound of the drums, I don't know for which technical reason, were not being heard by others. That's why we decided to shoot our work and to produce a film instead of the show that we were supposed to produce and play in Kigali and hopefully in other countries. So the hope is still there to meet together, to continue this collaboration, because even though we produced something else happened. And I like the unexpected, but we are committed to what we plan to achieve to make it happen. So Emma, if you allow, you can play the spot with each one filming in their own country, please.
Okay.
Alison, would you like to add on the process?
It was challenging. It was frustrating because we couldn't be together physically. We kept having internet problems. We kept losing communication. As Kiki said, we ended up filming in 3 countries, and then we tried to share those films. Internet connectivity wasn't good enough. In the end, we had to physically put film on hard drives and physically put the hard drives in the post to each other, which slowed everything down. But at the same time, we discovered incredible synchronicity, creative. Three sets of artists in 3 countries found themselves instinctively responding creatively to each other and to the situation we were in remarkably similar ways. Without discussing it, we discovered that the 3 groups of artists in 3 countries were starting to develop very similar ideas independently of each other, working with water, working with air, working with the earth. We started spontaneously, filming people eating, filming people singing. And it was as though 3 groups of artists from 3 different countries in very different cultural contexts started instinctively responding to the reality of a lockdown and a pandemic. Somehow in similar language, similar ways and thoughts. And that was extraordinary, and that was fascinating that we started doing that.
And that's also for me where the frustration is, because we feel that there's so much we could do if we were together. There is a potential for something that could have gone deeper and further, and somehow, but we were able to find another way of working together, and that was very magical. And again, the way Ngoma Nshaya benefited from this project is that we started to look for the sound from outside the drums and then transfer it back to the drums. This was something very new for us, because we were not necessarily imagining that. For us, everything starts on the drum and ends on the drums, and moving away from that drum and go create other songs. That's why I feel like the 3 days workshop we had in Rwanda really completely transformed women. Even myself, I was surprised to see the way they behave in the context of Zambia Circus and NoFit. I was discovering myself, discovering them, and after that, they were different. They were spontaneously going and looking for something new and different, and it changes the way we work. And now we can imagine that we can produce sound or music even without the drums, using other utensils. But as we are committed to the drum, we are now committed to the juggling, because I don't even have the feeling that I've exported something, you know. This is new for us. Even in Rwanda, we don't have lots of circus or juggling, but I feel natural to play with those sticks. We never imagined to use them differently than just hits on the drums, and now we throw them and they fly, and it's very magical. Can we see also the last piece of video?
Developed their juggling over the past few months, and they're just like soaking up anything that's juggling related. Their skills have come on so far from nowhere. We've all of a sudden got a full troupe of juggling drummers.
Having the sticks of 12, 15 drums and having a choreography of that, this is practice and practice. For me, something that we can still achieve.
Yes, this is, I think when there is a conversation, even if someone responds differently from another, and I think it's always important that everyone responds in its own context, in its own way, because you are responding to someone, because there is a conversation, it works. It works because people want to use these different skills to speak to talk to each other, and it works. And I mean, I'm very very happy that we met Alison and Gift, and I think what we need now, what I need it's time, to take further this conversation that is very interesting, that is promising, and to achieve and to achieve the magic, and that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alison. Do you want to add anything before we go to questions?
Just to really back up what Kiki just said, I think that sometimes you just meet somebody or some group of people, and creatively, artistically, culturally, emotionally, things just click. And new relationships are forged, which you really believe have really long-term fundamental impact on practice, on perception, on understanding. And I think that this is one, and we are determined to continue this partnership. I am determined to go back to Rwanda. I don't know if I can manage it for another couple of months, but even if we've got no money to do a project, we want to carry on working together, because it is joyous and transformative. And Kiki's spirit that she brings to the project is uniquely free and creative and open and generous.
I think that really came across from what you've said, but also the videos. It's so amazing to watch that in action and to see the creativity and the joy and just amazing creation within your partnership. You talked a bit about this, but what do you see for the future of your work together?
I hope that the world is getting better, that the COVID is going back home and leave us peace, and we can get again the opportunity of meeting again, and not filming what we are doing, but doing it, creating a show together that would eventually tour in Rwanda, in Zambia, in Cardiff. And yes, in 2020, in January, they came to Rwanda. The plan was that we all go to Zambia, and then we meet again in Scotland. But the thing that is good that we have met, we know the potential, we want this, and the next step is to let this happen.
Yeah, fantastic. We've got a couple of questions in the Q&A. So there's one here from Claire, the head of partnership. I loved all this. With the changes in the last couple of years, how have you maintained your creativity when only connecting digitally? You talked a little bit about that during the session, but how has that been?
Alison, go ahead.
It was really challenging. When we started, we imagined that we could live stream to each other what we were each doing. We discovered that because of bandwidth, that just wasn't possible. Also, Zoom actively tries to eliminate what it thinks is background noise. And it clearly believed that drums were background noise. So we couldn't do anything live on Zoom with drums. It just didn't work.
Technology wasn't up to it.
Yes. Yeah. Or Zoom was trying to be too clever. One or the other. So how did we do it? We did it by Gift. We have to say, Gift unfortunately couldn't join us today. He's not well, but he was going to be here. So the three of us plus Lee, who's the guy with dark hair that was juggling up on Penalan, we met at least once a week, and it was just conversations about how we were feeling, how we were collectively responding to COVID and lockdowns. what we could or couldn't do in our respective countries, because the rules were different in the 3 different countries, and the pandemic was at different places, different heights at the same moment. And so there were moments when we in Wales could come together and do things, but they couldn't in Rwanda. People couldn't move around in Rwanda from one district to another. So I think it was conversation. It was holding each other together to keep going. It was, yeah.
And did you find that, I mean, was there any positive to that? Claire's also asked, in terms of, you know, because there wasn't possible to meet in person, did you find that, you know, having those weekly chats, did you have that before the pandemic anyway, or did that change anything in terms of virtual meetups?
I think, I mean, we had planned, as Kiki said, we'd planned a creative development program that really ran from about March to September in 2020, when the 3 companies were going to be in different places all at the same time to work, and different artists going to different countries and crossing over and so on. So what we had originally planned was a much shorter but more intensive project.
Yeah.
And it became a longer and less intensive project.
Yeah.
On one level, I think the 3 of us have got to know each other much better, because it, you know, the conversation lasted so much longer.
Yeah, that's good. There's one more question. Sorry, yeah, carry on. Yeah.
Yes, the good thing for us, you know, we just started to acquire new skills that we were each of us locked in our own countries, and the women drummers, they were locked in their house, in their own houses. We could not meet together to try to. We work as a group. We function as a group. We don't know how to work personally by yourself, because we were learning a new skill. But that also was good somehow. When you are left alone, you have to go acquire your thing by yourself. You know that you can't escape that. You have to do it yourself. Then they took the drums home. And I'm really happy that financially we were somehow safe, because thanks to the project. And then even in their homes, they were working alone, filming themselves and send on WhatsApps what they have learned, the progress they are making. And I think that it changes everything in our group. We can stand by ourselves, even though I think the process were slower when we could have learned quickly if we could be together. And also Lee was filming also himself with new technical things in juggling and sending to us so that we can continue to learn somehow. But for me, it changes the women a lot, because they started also to stand by themselves without waiting for someone else to and it increase the self-esteem a lot.
Yeah, that's amazing. Fantastic. There's this one, we're coming to time, but one more question. So this is from Nabisa Sibasi. He says, please, I'm very inspired by your project, and I'd like to know if your organisation can facilitate residency programmes for dancers and drummers from other countries.
Sure. No, sure. Yes, definitely yes, because that's why also we are going into schools, and it's also something good that came out from the COVID, because we used to gather kids in our places, even though it was outside with the rain and the sun. But now, because big gatherings are not really tolerated, I hope it will come back. Now we had to go in schools where students are continuing to study, and then to find small groups of kids and continue ourselves to practice, because otherwise we will be just home. There is no shows anymore, and going in the schools keeps up us. becoming teachers. It's also learning how to teach and keep ourselves practicing. We are working also on another show, but yes, definitely the drumming is very exciting. And now saying that you are creating a contemporary drumming, creating our music, and it's very exciting. And anyone is welcome.
Excellent. Thank you both so much for joining us today. I'm going to move on now, just conscious of time and the agenda, but really, really enjoyed that, and amazing, amazing project. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Bye,
much. Alisa. Hi, Lauren.
Hello.
Hello. Sorry about, we've had a few technical difficulties getting both of you on. Hopefully Liara will be joining us shortly.
Yeah, you get used to one and then different rules. So Liara's actually in Mexico at the moment as well. So luckily it works.
Okay. So that makes it even more of a challenge. So anyway, here's Lauren from JukeBox Collective. Thank you very much for joining us. We will bring Liara on as soon as she joins us, hopefully soon. But do you want to start?
Yeah, let's start anyway.
I've got the videos ready. If just let me know when you want me to play the videos.
Sure, no worries. Am I able to share my screen?
Yes, you should be able to share your screen. Yeah.
Share screen. Okay.
Yeah.
Can everyone see this? Can everybody see this screen?
Yes. We can see video, yes.
You can see the background website, JukeBox Collective, just checking. Yeah. Okay, great. So hi everyone, I'm Lauren. I'm the Strategic Director at JukeBox Collective. We just wanted to give you a quick intro to us, really, in case anybody was unaware of our work. This is our new website, which we'd love for you guys to explore after if you want to find out more about all the different streams of work that we do. But in summary, we're a youth-led collective, community-rooted, and we're focused on nurturing and platforming creative talent. We do this through classes, academy, and our creative agency, as well as production, so creating theatre and performance work. We're based in Cardiff, in Byd-eang, but we work locally and internationally, which is why we're here today, because in 2019, we did a scoping trip to Ghana. So that's a bit about us, what we stand for, and this kind of is the blueprint to who we connect with as other organisations. So they always have to share our values and have a shared mission as to what they want to achieve. So that's kind of how we decide on which international partnerships we go for. Let's turn off that. I'm going to just go on to the next screen. If I change to this, are you able to see that? Okay, I can't hear anyone, so I'm just going to view.
Hi, sorry. We can see your
Yeah, you can see this now, the new screen with the white background?
Yes, we can see that, yeah.
Just want to double check because I've not used AirMeet and I can't see everyone when I'm talking. So yeah, we did this as part of funding from the British Council, their Arts Mobility Fund. So it's different to what NoFit State and their partners did, that it's not necessarily has an outcome as a fully formed project, but it's very much scoping potential between partnerships. So it's about making new connections, reaching, like understanding a new country, understanding what collaboration could happen, because you know, like we've discussed, it's about meeting people and seeing who you have that connection with in order to start a project. So this initial funding just covers kind of like travel and an explore time. So we spent 10 days, me and Liara went out together. And after we came back, we made this mini report to just summarize like who we met and how we kind of imagine the partnerships to go based on what funding we could get after. So maybe actually this is a good time for you to play the video, which has a little recap of our visit, just to kind of set the tone for what we did. And then I can go back to this presentation and just go through some of the people that we met. And you can kind of get an idea for the partnerships that we've started to develop. If you could play the video, which is titled Replay.
Replay, yeah.
The Q&A one. That was a quick video I just put together. I feel like it's nice, even though we didn't have like a project outcome that we could share with you something. It's nice for you guys to get a feel for the type of people that we're connecting with. So I'm going to go back to this presentation. If you just give me a second. I'm going to skip to So yeah, our goal for going out there was really to connect with a variety of people and organizations. So not only dance, but photographers, stylists, designers, as well as institutions, to really get like a broad kind of insight into what was going on there, so that we could kind of scope opportunities, challenges, where's the connections, and who do we feel like there's potential. So Dance with a Purpose was a really obvious one for us, because it's a dance academy. They're all about empowering the youth. They have a massive social media following with over like 500,000 followers. They're really known for creating like all these global trending dance moves, and they're self-starters. So we wanted to kind of see what their business model was, how they're kind of funding their projects, and we took part in one of their classes, and Liara ended up teaching pop-in to their students as well, which you saw in the video. The class was amazing, so much great energy. So initially we wanted to bring them over to Wales to run workshops, but since the pandemic happened, that relationship grew, but online. So we actually ended up bringing them in to deliver workshops during the first lockdown, where we kind of did a virtual trip to Ghana for our academy students. So they had one-on-one sessions with Dan Scott Lloyd, who's the founder, and really got to kind of immerse themselves in a new style, but with the people who are actually at the forefront of this. So we hope in the future to kind of definitely build connections between our academy side of what we do, and just continue to kind of bring, Afro dance is growing in popularity, but we'd love to connect to the source and make sure that the style isn't watered down as it travels internationally, and that we work with the people who are at the forefront. So they were a really great connection that we made.
Thanks, Lauren. So I'm just going to, Liara's here now, so I'm just going to bring her onto the stage with you, and you can bring her in as you want to.
I'm glad she got in. The next one. Another great person we met was the Vintage Mason. So he's a young photographer based in Accra. I forgot to mention that Accra was the main city that we explored. He's now represented by an agent in France, I think. But in our initial meeting, we felt like his work was very, it was like defying stereotypes. It was really original. It was presenting an image of Ghana that not everyone has seen before. So we felt like he would be a great person to collaborate with if we got future funding, or if we were to do any content production in Ghana, or bringing them over to Wales. We met with Shelley. She's a dancer. She actually acted as kind of our host. So she introduced us to a lot of people. Some of the events that you saw in the video, we experienced with Shelley. So she took us to a lot of music venues and meet with local artists. She connected us with some dancers. So she acted as a host, which was great. Drama Queens, they're a very radical non-profit theatre organisation telling stories specifically about Black women through edgy modern plays. We haven't, continued necessarily a partnership with them, but they helped us really understand what was going on in the country and kind of what the demand was in terms of like theatre environments and immersive experiences. So we gained a lot from that meeting. The National Theatre we visited, which is like a really big, the main theatre in Ghana. And through this visit, it was really interesting kind of understanding where they're at with connecting with the youth that we met with, and how there was very much not enough connections for professional opportunities for a lot of the people we worked with. And their goal was to diversify their audience, because currently they only get a lot of like expat community attending because of the price point and because of the type of work that they program. They don't program any Afro dance or anything relevant to the youth that we met with. So we thought that was give us a good insight into kind of the barriers and to the opportunity that was there. This is the first creatives. They just were only starting out when we arrived and met them, but they're a film company, and their vision is to kind of put out Hollywood level films, but that tell authentic African stories, and we don't see the stereotypes that we often see in films that portray Africa. So they also represent talent, writers, directors, actors, and we felt like their model of upskilling and investing in talent was really interesting, and their mission was reflected across their work. So they were great. Hakeem was another visual artist we met. We wanted to connect him with the British Council after meeting, so we did do that, and was really inspired by his work. Fuse is an international artist from Ghana. He started New African Nation and This is Africa, where he encouraged the diaspora to return and discover their home country. We thought he was a really great person that if we develop future projects to kind of promote and share what we're doing, because he has a big influence in the country. So it was great to connect with more of the entertainment industry figures as well. Derek Byd-eang is an up-and-coming photographer. His work is incredible, so I definitely would recommend checking him out. He's recently, Liara was telling me that he's just shot for, was it Louis Vuitton, Lee? Don't know if she can join in on that.
Yeah, he's just did a campaign for Louis Vuitton, which is really great, because when we met him, he was doing photography on his dad's mobile phone. So since then, his work has reached globally, and he's been able to work on some amazing campaigns.
So we definitely thought it was really important to like meet with people who are very much like emerging creatives, that we could get to know their journey from the beginning as well as like the established ones, because it kind of that's how we work here in Wales. We definitely wanted to kind of do the same thing in Ghana. Free the Youth is probably the organisation that we could confidently say that we've built a really strong connection with, and definitely see potential to do a lot of creative work within the future. So it was founded by Joey Litt. He's taken his idea and grown it into like, you know, a global business with community at its core. When we went there, they were operating from an industrial site, which they managed to get funding from a really interesting story, which probably don't have time to tell right now. But they've now just opened a massive, beautiful new office. Their work was supported by Virgil Abloh, who recently sadly passed away, but was very influential in supporting youth organizations who were trying to make change in their community. So we initially wanted to develop a project with them, which we applied for the British Council funding. I think it's the one that NoFit State got for theirs. We didn't end up being successful in our second application, so we weren't able to do the project we imagined, but we ended up doing a Q&A session with Joey as part of our academy, and we've continued to kind of stay in touch. We've got a little video recap of some of the sessions, so if you'd like to play that now, that would be great. I'll stop sharing.
Who don't have like money, or whose parents don't have money to continue their education. So we had to kind of employ them or bring them on board to teach them how to make clothes or how to DJ or how to produce music or do something so that they can get money for themselves and take care of their family. We started something called Ghetto University, a ghetto university, yeah. So, and Ghetto University was like, it's our best-selling shirt. I think we sold like 3,000 pieces of Ghetto University shirts. And so as the name goes, Ghetto University is like giving the chance for kids who don't have the opportunity to go into school, come to us to learn any art of their choice, like screen printing, music production, photography.
I'll just go back to my screen. So yeah, we hosted like, I think it was an hour-long session with Joey and with not just our academy students, but our creative network in Wales. It was open for anyone to join, and people really enjoyed it. I think they were super inspired by Joey and his story, how they'd harness social media to really connect with other people across the world who all have that same vision of like telling new stories, empowering young people, and changing the narrative. So they're definitely I feel like they're the strongest kind of connection we've made partnership wise, and we're looking at ways to involve them in all our future work as a partner and to continue to grow that. Accra Theatre Workshop. We met with Elizabeth, who's got a venue called Terra Alta. So it was an independent venue that she started so they can develop a black box theatre. They did actually end up getting funding to create their new space. So they do a lot of residencies, which we're looking to explore. And she believes that Ghana would benefit tremendously from travel and kind of exchange programs. So she was another really great person to meet. Kwame was a movement artist who actually did a residency in Wales. So Liara kind of already knew about his work once they met. He's part of the Accra.alt, which is based in Jamestown. They run the Chalet Wote Festival every year. It's like a street festival where they have different themes and bring different artists in. So we'd love to be part of that festival in the future, which is these people here who I just mentioned. Incredible Ziggy, Afrobeat dancer, similar to Dance with a Purpose. They also have an academy, so we met up with them to understand the dance scene there, and also to see how we could develop workshops together and kind of bring them over to teach across the UK and act as like a host for them. I think I'm nearly done. Boxed Kids. So that was founded by Prince Gayasi, who's a really great photographer, and Kukwa. they started Box Kids to kind of document and give back to the local community through photography and through their Instagram platform. Okay, cool. So that's all the people we met. Just going to go back to the beginning. And as like a recap, after we met everyone, so we met actually over 15 organizations and individuals. So we really kind of made the most of this scoping trip and got like a full picture of the scene and the people and how we could potentially work together. And then we kind of recapped what we thought were some opportunities, such as there's an opportunity for like artists to receive development and professional advice from organizations. There's an opportunity to develop new audiences. There's an opportunity to be part of festivals out there. So the list is extensive. Challenges was obviously the obvious ones, such as international travel being a barrier to artists being able to exchange. The perception of arts in West Africa, specifically in Ghana, that it wasn't really like a viable career choice was kind of a big challenge for a lot of people there. Definitely the lack of programming and how that wasn't really connecting to like the youth culture. Some insights was definitely the shared thing across every person we met was just the desire to tell authentic, positive African stories, and to take control of their narrative, challenge stereotypes, and show what it really means to live in Africa today instead of seeing what we always see. And our initial next steps were to apply for the New Art, New Audience, which I mentioned we were unsuccessful in receiving funding for, but I thought it was good to show you this initial report and then kind of show you where some of the connections have grown to during the pandemic and how initial thoughts can change and flourish in a different way than what we imagined. So yeah, that's a recap of our trip, who we met, and some of the insights that we gained in total.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lauren. That was really, really interesting. And we've got a few questions here. I don't know if Liara, you're obviously there, but anyway, I'll. There's a question here, and I was wondering the same thing. You talked about a lot of the groups that you'd met, and really amazing, diverse group of artists and creative people. So the question's about how do you turn those art creatives into profits for the participants? So I was wondering, what is the funding environment, or how do people, you mentioned a career, people not seeing it as a viable career, but what is the kind of funding environment for those creative people in Accra?
I would say funding doesn't really exist to the communities that we would develop and work with, and they have made their businesses through platforms. So social media has played a really huge part in them getting global exposure. But I think there was just a really big disconnect with the art infrastructure that they had and all of these amazing artists that are already doing work globally. But like, there's a British council there. Most people didn't know about them. And then, as Lauren mentioned, with the venue, I can't remember the name, the theatre venue. Yeah, there's just like, you wouldn't see that kind of work programmed in those venues. And yeah, I think.
I would say,
go on.
I was going to say, a lot of people is so self-generated, isn't it? Like, people are just going for their own opportunities because they don't even trust that the kind of system around them is going to give them that opportunity. So they find it very resourceful in that. And I feel like we were inspired by that, even though there should be opportunities for them to access. It was great to see how creative people were in using other modes to fund what they do. So we did connect a few people with like British Council and stuff, and they did end up like doing some work together, which was great. But that's definitely a barrier for some people, but kind of it's also made them think differently and find alternative ways.
Okay, great. We've got time. I'm just going to kind of wrap a couple of the other questions into one. So there's one about outcomes. What were the sort of intended outcomes? And was it you intending to build careers and livelihoods, or were you looking sort of to pursue creativity for its own sake? What was the sort of balance of those aims, or what were your outcomes of the project?
It's definitely never creativity for its own sake. I feel like everything we do is like rooted in kind of like changing people, changing society, creating opportunities for people to make a living from what they do and to share to be able to have a space to express what they want to express in their terms. But with this specific fund, there wasn't an outcome in terms of an asset. It was just about connecting and understanding and insights. But we do want to create projects that we can develop if we receive funding for the idea.
Great. And there's just one final question. What could we all be doing to promote these creative partnerships to Welsh audiences to engage and inspire people?
What could we all be doing?
Yeah, in terms of sort of wider, the Wales Africa community, having seen the amazing creativity and just so vibrant, really amazing things, how could we in Wales help to promote those creative partnerships?
Like for us, as we mentioned, it's like seeking out creatives and talent that share that vision and values, and making authentic connections, not just forced, I guess. So what would you say, Lee? Anything?
I mean, I think sometimes you can share it, but you may not have the right network. So I think it starts in Wales, and it's about building the local network and making sure that it aligns with the people and the projects in Ghana. We did some, the stuff we did with Joey Lit, actually, the online Q&A worked really well because we do have that network, and we did open it up for people to join us, and now independent relationships have built from that. So I do think there's definitely groundwork, and I think it worked for us because before we went to Ghana, we did the research and we made sure we connected with people and organizations that shared the same vision as us. So I think that does play a really big role in that. Sorry, I'm not sure if that answers your...
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Yeah.
I think also just like if we've got media resources here in Wales, and if there is people who want to showcase different talent that are based in West Africa, use the resources you have. Like, look, you've seen all these people that we've met. Does anyone tie into what you're doing? Could you platform their work? Do you want to reach out to us and think of ways that we can kind of consult to bring in different people? Because we've done extensive research now on Ghana, on what's happening when, so we've got quite a good insight and connections with all these people. So yeah, reach out to us, let us know how we can work together and bring these talented people into Wales.
Fantastic. Thank you both so much for joining us today. That was really, really interesting and a great way to finish the summit. So I'm just going to come back to Claire now, just to say a few final words for the last session. Thank you both.
Thank you both. I hope you can hear me. My internet has been failing all day, so I've made an emergency trip to the Temple of Peace, where we're normally based, in order to actually be able to speak to anyone. I would just like to say thank you to the people in the last session. It was really, really interesting, and has, I'm sure, given lots of people a kind of another depth of knowledge that they didn't have before today, and some really great questions. So I'm just going to close the whole conference, and it's going to be a really difficult job because it's been a really wide and varied program, And we've been so lucky to have hundreds, it feels like hundreds, tens of speakers from all over the globe, who've all contributed some really amazing insights, their expertise, their personal experiences. And I think it's made all of us kind of richer for having been able to do that. I know that COVID has posed like massive challenges for most of us, and I can tell you for sure over the last few weeks where we've been sat in our separate home offices, kitchen tables, spare bedrooms, thinking about how to make this program engaging and interesting and special. Sometimes you don't know if that's going to happen until it just starts rolling, and it's been really excellent. And I want to thank, I'm sure most people who've participated over the last few days aren't still on the call, but I think what's been most valuable from our perspective is just how engaged everyone has been, even just as a participant and just listening to the sessions. The questions have been interesting, the challenge has been interesting, the energy and stamina of some of you who I've seen on nearly every session has been really important in making this a successful event. For the people that delivered the workshops, we really appreciate everything. We appreciate the kind of challenge you've brought to our table as well. Some of the sessions have made me feel challenged and uncomfortable at times, and that's really important because it means we're reflecting on what we're doing, and it means we're thinking about how we can improve what we're doing as well. And that's what we want to do. Hub Cymru Africa is here to kind of set challenges and push the agenda forward and help push Wales and Africa as a sector forward. And I'm really excited about how willing everyone is to do that and how willing everyone has been to listen to the lessons of the sessions we've had over the last few days. There've obviously been challenges with tech at times, so thank you for being good-humoured and sticking with us through those. Although I have to say, if you joined one of our conferences 2 years ago, you would think we were the most professional outfit going based on how well this has been delivered over the last couple of days. I'm not going to list all the different sessions for fear of forgetting about someone or leaving someone out, but every single one has been a highlight for me. The range of speakers and the fact that inclusion and diversity has been an absolute key to everyone who's wanted to organise, who's come forward to present, who's wanted to participate in the design of the conference, has really made it what it is. So thank you for that. And also just thank you to all of the team who make it all happen, who spend a lot of time worrying the days and evenings and nights before, but who make it really, really special. So I'm going to finish there and say thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone who's participated. Look back over the sessions. If you didn't get to go to anyone, every single one of them has been important. And even if you don't think it's important to your work, it definitely is. And take a few minutes to go back into the social lounge, connect with anyone you haven't spoken to yet. And obviously, if you can complete our polls to tell us if we did a good or a bad job, we would really appreciate that, because we can't learn unless we hear direct feedback. The polls are on the right of your screen above the chat box, and and feel free to drop us emails and carry on engaging and talking to us, because we love to hear it. So thank you very much, everyone, and I'm going to end the session. Goodbye. Thank you.